Today on Flick Knows, we discuss short-term rental regulations, land titles stats, as well as the quick stats. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Flick Knows here. We got one that is jam-packed today. We've got some short-term rental moratoriums to update you on, as well as just some land title stats and some big numbers in the quick stats. So here we are in the last 7 days. We'll start off with the quick stats. In the last 7 days, we've got new listings, 68 new listings. That's the biggest number we've seen in quite some time. Pretty excited about that. We've been asking for more inventory, and we finally have some. Pending, 23. So that's lower, about on par with what we've been seeing. But in comparison to the new listings, we've been seeing dead on new listings as well as pending at the same, and then sold 27, price reduced 17. And then looking at active listings, we've seen an increase in these numbers as well. So we ended April of 22, so April of this year we ended with 726 active listings. May of 21, so last year on this day of last year we ended with 775, and today we're at 816 active listings, of which there were 256 choices. Now interestingly enough, I remember it was about a month ago we were like 120 active listings that you could choose from. Now we're at 256. So there you go. You've been wanting more inventory. There it is here for you. Let's go through the April land title stats next. And for that, we've got, I just like to do this. It's a little bit delayed, but it just sums up the month so nicely that it's worth going through and talking about. And there's some good year-to-date comparisons as well. So let's see here, 156 transactions total for the month of April. The average residential price was $1,294,000. So average residential just under $1,003,000. And then we've got average transaction price so far for the entire year of 2022. The average transaction price is $1,003,000 as well. Single-family homes are up 31%, multifamily are up 15%, and vacant land is up 21%. Some interesting numbers there, and we'll talk about the average prices on those in just a second. Well, let's just do it now. Average price for a residential single-family home was $2.2 million. Multifamily was $860,000, and then vacant land was $609,000. Vacant land has seen a significant jump in the last couple of years up here. And then jumping back, monetary volume is up 2%, but it's pacing 1% down year over year. And then, residential volume in April, we had 125 transactions. So, generally speaking, everything's up. I think number of transactions are down overall year to date, but I think volume is up. We've had a small amount of inventory up until this point. We are seeing that inventory coming to the market as we came through the Memorial Day weekend. Now, here's an interesting thing that we need to talk about, because I think this is going to have an effect on some of the areas of the market. Last week, just before Memorial Day weekend, the Summit County Board of County Commissioners, the BOCC, had a meeting on Tuesday. And at that meeting, without fair warning, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion, they had a meeting and they enacted a 9-month moratorium on all short-term rental licenses unless you were under contract on that day. So that's interesting. That's going to affect some of these areas like Summit Cove. Now, I should be clear here. This is very confusing. There are 2 resort areas in Summit County that are not part of this moratorium. That is Keystone Resort Overlay and the Copper Resort Overlay. The other areas that are affected, and probably the most affected, are the Peak 7 neighborhood in Breckenridge. They are the Summit Cove area just at the base of Swan Mountain, and the Wilderness area in Silverthorne up behind Lowe's there. There's other neighborhoods as well, Hamilton Creek, some pockets in Frisco, in the Bill's Ranch area, things like that as well. But those, the four, I would say the major areas to take into account. So this is a 9-month moratorium on all short-term rental licenses. We don't know how this is going to end up at this point. They could come out with a capped system. They could, re-release, the type 1, 2, 3 system, etc., etc. But what we do know is that does exist. Now in Breckenridge, we're still status quo. They are still talking about those tourism overlays. I don't think that is going to affect the number of licenses that you're able to get in Breckenridge. However, we used to have the loophole of doing 1031 exchanges and being able to move to the top of that waiting list. They have nixed that and gotten rid of that now, so we are now back to getting on the waiting list in the town of Breckenridge. So, some short-term rental regulations updates there. There's no regulation in Frisco as of yet, Dillon, Silverthorne, Copper, or Keystone. So those are the areas. Oh, and Blue River, the town of Blue River as well. So those are the areas that we need to focus on if short-term rentals are a must. So take that into account. If you have any questions about it, I know that was a lot of information, but we are definitely here for you. So if you have any questions, certainly reach out, teamflick@summitliving.com. We are here for you, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Flick Knows. Have a good one.